In the last video, I showed the basics of the Table of Contents tool in Adobe InDesign. In this tutorial, I'll go over a more complex multi-level table of contents. Before we jump in, if you'd like to see more tutorials like this, please subscribe and feel free to chuck a comment down below for any future tutorials that you'd like to see. Let's get started. So I have my document here. I have section titles and headings. So I'm going to have 3 levels to my table of contents: title, heading, and subheading. So I've got that all laid out there. And then I have my paragraph styles, of course. From our last tutorial, you'll know that a table of contents requires paragraph styles to be built. It draws upon those paragraph styles to know what gets put into each entry. So we have title, H1, H2, and then body. And of course, we can ignore the body text. And then I've also gone ahead and styled my various levels of my table of contents just to make this go a little bit faster. But we'll still go over some styling in this tutorial. To make our table of contents, we can go Layout and then find Table of Content. We can add in our paragraph styles by selecting them and then clicking on Add. You can see that these are nested a little bit, but this is incorrect because title needs to be the highest level of our table of contents. So let's click on More Options and see if we can change this. Down here, we have the level. This does a few different things. First of all, when we create PDF bookmarks, and if you don't remember from the last tutorial, or if you've never heard of PDF bookmarks before, they are an embedded table of contents that you can access wherever you are in the document. What this does is it will nest them underneath it. So this becomes a collapsible table of contents. So for example, all of the heading 2s will be collapsed under the heading 1s. And same with all the titles, the heading 1s will be collapsed under the titles. This is just really great for that extra level of organization. And I know a lot of my viewers make digital planners, things like that. When you import them into GoodNotes, this imports as a multi-level outline, I believe it's called in GoodNotes, that you can collapse and expand and allow your viewers to navigate through the document that way. So let's change these to make these correct. Title, we want it to be level 1. H1, we want it to be level 2. And H2, we want it to be level 3. And we can shuffle these around if we want to as well. And then we've also got this option here, sort entries in alphabetical order. And what this does is it takes all of them, and instead of putting them in order of page number or anything like that, it puts them in alphabetical order, which could be helpful if you're using the table of contents to build something like an index without using InDesign's index features. What this means with the levels is that anything that is in level 2 will be sorted alphabetically, but it will be sorted alphabetically within that level underneath what is nested above it. Let's style things. So for the title, I'm going to put that as H1, or we could use title. Let's do that. And that will keep it consistent with those section titles I've got throughout my document. For title, I'm going to do talk level 1, H1, level 2, and H2, level 3. And between entry and number, I'm going to change all of these from a tab to a right indent tab. So that will push everything from wherever the tab is set, and instead it will be pushed all the way to the right-hand side of the frame. It will force it to be right aligned. So same with that one, we'll do all of the numbers to be a right indent tab. And I've got all of the numbers as after entry. So I just prefer that. You could do it before entry, or if you want certain things to divide it up, you can do no page number. I've done that before with some pieces of work I've done where it was like a category as well as a title page. And so the page number itself wasn't important, but the category was. So I had no page number, and it allowed the page numbers to stand out a bit more for where they were important. Now, in the previous tutorial, I said I was going to show a more accessible way of doing dot leaders. So that's when you have dots between the entry and the number. And I'll show that just after I've shown how this looks as it is. So with all of that done, Remember, we want to save style. And we always want to name it something sensible. And we'll click OK. Now I'm in preview mode, so I'll hit W to get out of that. And I will just click on my margins and it will automatically fill my margins. But we do have overset text here. So I can use the shortcut Command Option C or Control Alt C if you're on Windows to change that. If anyone's curious, I do have my hidden characters on, which is what all of these blue marks are. You can just turn that on by going Type and Show Hidden Characters, or I'll just turn them off now. So I'll turn back on preview mode so we can see a bit better what I've done. In my paragraph styles, I have turned section title 1. I've done it as all caps, it's 16 point and it's semi-bold. And then I have also changed the character color of this. For heading 1, top level 2, I have done an indent as well as decreased the font size and also decreased the weight of the font. And then for level 3, decrease the font size, decrease the weight again, and also increase the indent. But this is looking a little bit confusing, so why don't we add some leaders? There are a couple of ways to do this. I'll show you the way that I showed in my previous tutorial just really quickly. So with, let's do it on level 2. We find tabs, and then we find our right justified tab. We want the leader on here, and then we can also just click anywhere on this ruler to make those dots appear. So that's the basic way of getting those dot leaders. But like I said previously, this can be a bit inaccessible for screen readers. So you might hear like dot, 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 dot. It might say it 3 times, it might say a lot of times. It depends on the screen reader. So I'm just going to clear that. And I'll show you a couple of alternative ways, which are really the same method, but different ways of doing it. So the first way we can do it is in the table of contents itself. So we go Layout, Table of Contents Styles, and we want to edit the one we saved. So you can see this brings us back to that previous menu, and we can just change anything that we've done in that first initial setting up. So I'll go to my H1, and we have different styles for the page number and between entry and number. So these are character styles that will override this paragraph style. If we leave these empty, it just uses the paragraph style, which is why the numbers look just like the text. So I'm going to style between entry and number. I'm going to go New Character Style. We'll call this Dot Leader. And I will do a strike through. You can also do it with an underline and then add a baseline shift to that. Weight, we'll put it at 1 point. Type, we'll put it at dots. This is going to be all the way through the middle of the text. Underline is going to be along the bottom, so that will be just visually similar to that dot leader that we did. Color, we'll do black, and then we'll click OK. We'll click OK again. And then we'll go Layout, Update Table of Contents. And so now we have those dot leaders. But we can update the visual appearance of this. So I can go into my character style, find dot leader, and that's something that I mentioned in the previous tutorial. Make sure you have your frame deselected when you're editing character and paragraph styles, because otherwise it will apply to your entire frame, and that can be very annoying. So we've got strike through options. Right now it's at 1 point. We can increase that if we want to make it bigger. And one thing you'll notice here, this can be quite common with importing documents, is this here doesn't have a gap, but down here it does. And this is because my heading 3 has a space, but for that paragraph marker, let's find it. There it is. You can tell because of that dot there. I'm just going to do a find and replace to get rid of those. So we've got rid of those now. And when we update our table of contents, those spaces are now gone. But maybe you do want a bit of breathing room between these numbers and these headings before the dots. We can also do that too, just in a little bit of a different way. So I'm going to go back to my table of contents styles, editing this one, and then I'm going to go back to my H1 and remove this style from it, so none. And instead of having this here, this just a right indent tab, I'm going to change it to an M space on either side. You can also do an N space for a smaller space. And so what this is going to do is it's going to add in just a little bit of white space before that tab character. So I'll go OK. And I'll update this so that we can just show that that's gone. And you can see now we have this space here before and after those tab characters. Then we're going to do something that's going to seem a little bit complicated, but I promise it's not. So we're going to go into the top level 2 paragraph style, and we're going to go to grep style, new grep style, apply to text, and we're going to change this to other and find right indent tab. And we're going to apply that character style dot leader to that. We'll go OK, and I'll hit W to preview that. So now we have a lot of space before that. So what that grep style does, and for those who aren't aware, grep means global regular expression something like that. They're essentially a pattern matching tool that will go through your entire document and find these things that will follow a specific pattern that you define and apply styles based on that. So for this, we have asked it to find within this paragraph style all instances of a right indent tab, and when it finds those, apply a character style to it. I think that this gap here is a bit too big, so I'm just going to quickly go in and replace that with an N dash. I believe it's just N, but I'll insert that first just to check. An N space. Oh, it is not. So, OK, OK, update table of contents, and now we have a smaller space between those. So you can see how dot leaders are really helpful for seeing what numbers match with what pages, but also ways that we can improve them for accessibility reasons or anything like that. Now, I said before that this is going to make PDF bookmarks. So let's take a look at those now. So we'll go Window and then find Interactive and Bookmarks. Here we have everything nested within each of these section titles. And so what that has done is it's made navigation within the PDF a lot easier. And you can do this manually, you can create bookmarks if you want to, but the table of contents tool does this for us automatically. But if we delete our table of contents, the bookmarks also delete. So just be a bit careful when you are using this for something else, such as just getting these bookmarks in, that you're not deleting your table of contents and thus removing your bookmarks. A little known fact is that the table of contents also hyperlinks itself automatically without you having to do anything. And this is a sneaky feature because it does not show in our hyperlinks panel. So if we go Window, Interactive, and find hyperlinks, there are none in here. This document does not have any hyperlinks. But if I was to export this as a PDF, it will have hyperlinks. So let's try that now. I'm going to use the shortcut Command E or Control E if you're on Windows, or you can go File and Export. You can export as a print PDF or an interactive PDF. If you're using a print PDF, which I'm going to do, we just need to make sure we are enabling those interactive features like bookmarks and hyperlinks. So down here, include bookmarks and hyperlinks. I'm going to export that, and opening that in preview, we can see down here in our navigation, we have those bookmarks, and then we can also jump to the various pages if we want to. So that is how we make a complex multi-level table of contents in Adobe InDesign automatically. If you liked that video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon.